The Volvo S90 R design is today in our full review on Autogefuehl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars. Today with Thomas. We're going to take a detailed look on the exterior, interior and the driving experience in general to the S90 and special here with the changes we have with the R design trim outside and of course on the inside. And this one also has here the D5 has also some Polestar tuning, so let's see what about that one with a little bit more horsepower even. We will experience everything in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! A normal Volvo S90, taking German reference prices, is about 40,000 euros. Then if you put an R design and a bigger engine inside, you get along 60,000 for sure already. And this test vehicle is 80,000 euros, really expensive with a lot of extras. We'll also tell you more about them on the inside. But what you do get from the R design trim level always is, first of all, the Thor's Hammer LED light with this also LED daytime running light design. Below that says full LED active high beam. So the LED headlights with the Thor's Hammer design you can also automatically get with the R design. Otherwise you have to go for them optionally with the base trim levels. Then the R design front grille with this black dot design and also a stronger lower bumper. An inscription S90, by the way, would also V90 would have those vertical fins in the front grille. And also the base models look different than this one. This one here is reserved for the real sporty version. The front camera they have mounted inside the Volvo logo, and you can see that the big front hood has a gap here, so it's not continued all the way to the front for insurance cost saving reasons, that you do not have to replace the front hood in case of a small crash. But it always takes something away from the design, or what do you think? 4 meters 96 or 16'3" is the total length of the S90. And it's the same for the V90 for the estate version, where we also have a full review, of course, on Autogefuehl. You can check that one out later then. Here with the R design, you have those matte aluminum style side caps here for the side mirrors. And overall, I think a very beautiful design. Not too many design lines, but simplistic in a Scandinavian design. R design comes with 18-inch rims. Those ones here, however, the optional 20-inch rims, so the big ones, 21 inches even possible. The riding comfort with those here is still fine, but still, of course, when you go for smaller rims, they always add some more comfort. And if you go for bigger rims, they add more sportiness. You see a main design line is just placed above the door handles. The side profile is not that screaming out as the front. I found it very interesting here that this coupe style, like a window shape, doesn't go all the way in a round shape, but has this tech style, not textile, but tech, like technology style, where you have another straight line here. And we also see something resembling from this design scheme then again in the rear too. And here it is, what I meant, with combining some round shapes, but then again with straight lines. And you see it's like a C holding that rear. And we see a resemblance to the SUV designs at Volvo also when we soon present you the all-new XC60, the compact SUV. I think the rear, at the first sight, I was really thinking, I think that's rather ugly. But meanwhile, it has grown on me a little bit. So I'm still more in favor of the very front of the vehicle and of the side profile. Overall, a very beautiful vehicle to me. I want to hear your comments on that. The rear, not my really favorite part, but as I said, it grew on me, it grew on me over the while. So I think, meanwhile, it's really okay. The exhaust tips here, they're all fake, whereas we have the diesel, the D5, and we have a lot of badges here, not only D5 for that diesel version, but also R design logo, all-wheel drive logo, and Polestar logo, because here we have some tuning, a little bit more horsepower, a little bit more torque, and the logos add up a little bit too much show off, isn't it? So here we go with the engine or the engines. It starts with a D3 diesel, 150 horsepower, D4, 190 horsepower, or here the D5, 240 horsepower. And with the Polestar tuning you get some more torque, some more horsepower, not too much of a difference, more for the conscience. And then petrol engines is T5, 254 horsepower, or T6, 320 horsepower. And the bigger engines are always combined with all-wheel drive all the time. And for the lower ones they start with just with the front wheel drive. And the acceleration figure here is 6.9 seconds, a little bit less with the Polestar tuning, so to 100 or 62 miles an hour, and to 100 kilometers then with the T6 would be 1 second less, 5.9 seconds. This is the difference. So this one already among the most powerful engines there is. And the consumption we scored here in our test was 7 liters on 100 kilometers. That should actually be a little bit lower. You can compare it, for example, that we had with a 3-liter not V6 and BMW, it's inline 6, but 3-liter 6-cylinder engine. We had 6 liters on 100 kilometers in our recent touring reviews. So you see that this downsizing is not necessarily a way to lower consumption. But Volvo decided that we just put here, they say 4-cylinder, 2-liter, that they say we don't have to develop anything else. There will be a 3-cylinder engine also for the XC60, but basically you can all keep the same size and use the same platform, and it's also very cost effective just to go for 1 cylinder and 1 displacement size. So here we go with the key, and I think it's animal skin around it. Then let's open the door. And we have a good build quality. There's also real carbon fiber here, for example. Everything above that is a little bit softened up. Also the door handles, it's always making good impressions. You get 10 speakers with the R design already, and here the optional Bose and Wilkins sound system, even more speakers, even greater surround. I can really recommend them, especially in the concert hall setting. Then you have a great surround sound, one of our favorite ones, alongside with the Burmester 3D surround in the Mercedes E-Class. And this one here is then the R design interior. You can see, for example, that the steering wheel has an R design logo. The seats, they have this very sporty form in general, so you have more side support, for example here also in the shoulder area. With the R-Design Standard it comes with microfiber on the inside, which is better because you then do not sweat in summer times, and it's also not getting cold in winter times. So this one I think even more, 1,500 euros extra, you can save that money. Then let's get inside. And you have a normal low sedan seating position, but the seat form Volvo is using, they are in general very comfortable. Headroom wise, it's getting really close with 1m86 or 6'1". It's more about the panoramic roof, So you can also, let's see, open the small panoramic roof like this. And however, if you want more headroom, then probably you should leave out this option. What I also find beautiful is that you have a frameless rear mirror. So that looks very stylish and elegant. And if you look to the dashboard here, for example, well, a lot of the parts are also leather red. It depends on which parts you have, but it's really hard to differentiate nowadays because the quality is also so good. Meanwhile, in the Bose and Wilkins system, they have also an additional speaker right there. It's also very prominent. Design-wise also plays a role, for example. And the seat, you can also lengthen it in the very front here, like this, and everything else is being done electrically. And the steering column, that is still manual release, and then you can push it or pull it in all directions. It works pretty smoothly as well. The only thing that I'm not so fond of is, the buttons here at the steering wheel. They make a little cheap appearance in general, but the overall build quality is surely very good. The instruments, all digital, as we can see them right here. And if you start the car, then everything flashes like this. What do you think about them? And optionally, you can also get a head-up display. Then you have a projection, for example, of the allowed speed and the real speed directly in your line of sight. General cockpit overview. You can see another carbon fiber cover right there. And it's a really minimalistic design, all centered on this big infotainment system. 6.5 inch would be standard with the R design, or also other higher trim levels. It goes then here with the 9-inch screen. Also with the R design, you have some features already included, not only like the foot packs and also the R design steering wheel. Also then autonomous emergency brake is with every Volvo S90 from standard equipment. That's also good. Here, R design also includes the ACC, for example, and seat heating. Then the the glove box is actually quite spacious. You can also cool it as a function. You can just pull it, and then this one is being cooled. See horizontal lines, a little overlap here. I think very well thought out from the design. So it's a good Scandinavian design here. You have the automatic shifting lever. It always comes with a converter gearbox. So there's no such thing as a dual clutch transmission here, even if some people think so. We had this discussion lately, but I asked them again, no, there's no dual clutch. You can also slide open the armrests here. There's a nice cover here too, works pretty well. And then you have beverage holders there inside, also 12-volt power supply, and maybe just a small space in the front there again. So overall, a very likable interior. Let's see more about the details and functionality. I like this crystal design we have at the driving mode selector, which we talk about in the driving part. And also when you start the engine, just turn it to the right side. You have also this, it feels very good, and it also looks pretty good. And talking about details here, very nicely done since 1959. Volvo starting here for the passenger vehicles, and it's just on the seatbelt holder here, and why not putting some emotional details right there. The famous German Spaltmaße, so the gaps, you take a look at the building processing detail. That wasn't supposed to be like that. More like that, shouldn't it? I guess. Anyway, the rest of the armrest is really properly fixed. That's nicely done. Well, the room is somewhat limited. Disc you can put there, and 2 USB slots. One is that you can also connect your phone, and the other one is just for charging, for example, if you have it connected with Bluetooth anyway. So we're starting here, also with the crystal knob. An interesting thing with the sound system is I've set it to the concert hall, and this sounds so weird. If you have a radio then and have this echo sound, all radio voices sound pretty weird. And the thing is, you can always change it around again here with Sound Experience. This is Gothenburg Concert Hall. It's so great with music, but it's so bad with radio voices. Then you just go for studio, for example, or individual stage. But the concert hall theme is really great for all kinds of music. That sounds really, really great. To the main menu you get there always, because besides those buttons there in the lower part, which are partly mandatory, everything is just centered here. Here with the Sound Experience, for example, connecting your phone. You can do it via Bluetooth, but also with the cable and then Apple CarPlay and such. Radio control, and here, for example, you get to the GPS. You have to maximize it first. Then you can scroll around it like this and also use it iPad-alike. So, that's working pretty well. See it right there. And reaction times are also really okay. You have to get used to that you have to control the temperature right there. I'll turn on the ignition that you can redo it to get to the vents function like this and to the temperature like this. And I think it's too complicated. If you think about how Tesla has the solution there, it's also somewhat like this, but you can always have it. You know, you don't have to press it like this first. And I'm not really sure. This is maybe something I would like to have as a separate knob, but am I too old school for this? Tell me in the comments. Then on the left side you can go, for example, to the great camera system. What a great resolution here for the 360 view, but you can also click the separate cameras and have just a rear view camera here. And also you will have an alert when someone is approaching, so that's really, really helpful, especially for this vehicle, because the overall overview is not that good. You can also have all the adjustments for head-up display and all the assistance systems you can activate there. So a lot of choices. You can almost you can also press the headrest fold. I would attack Michelle in the rear. They're already down. Otherwise, the problem is the headrest fold. It does not. I can test it now again. Yeah, it does release again. They have to install a sensor that the headrest cannot fold when someone is sitting on the rear seat. They haven't done so far, although I've told them a couple of times now. And here on the right side, you can have some more adjustments, but usually you don't use it. Most of the time you stay in the central one, and then only when you want to reach the camera system. I also want to have a separate button maybe for the camera system if I'm in a parking lot, because otherwise I just have to put in the rear gear, then I see the rear view camera. But sometimes maybe you're driving forward and want to have the 360 view. But here you can also switch it around again. So what about the rear compartments here of the S90? And it's a pretty long business sedan, and the result of knee room here is, I would say, average to small. It's still okay, of course, but sometimes we have such a result here when we have way smaller cars. So it's not the best package. Headroom-wise, it's really okay because the ceiling is raising again. So I think with 1m90 or 6'2", that would be the maximum. Of course, a little bit better than if you have the Estate, the V90. Then it goes further on a little bit. But overall, it's also pretty cozy in here, for sure. You can have also this manual shade here, more protection against the sun. Great build quality also in the rear. You can fold down beverage holders like this. Also some space in there. It's not possible to open the ski hatch from here. You have to do it from the rear. That's unfortunate. Temperature control, you can also optionally get a 3-zone control for the rear, and you also have a separate cable plug, a real cable plug. That's nice. And then you can also release the seats from here, and there are 2 buttons. I hope I don't press the wrong one now. Like this. That was for the head restraints, so you can do that either, or then the second button releases the rear bench, and then you can either have this one here, so it's a 1/3, 2/3 split, so like this. This is already a split, and then you can, for example, also release the ski hatch right from here, and the other one would be like here, the other third. And here we go with the trunk. You can open it right there. It's an electric version. Of course, it's limited as with every sedan, but wow, pretty long loading area for sure. Here we also have a replacement tire. We also have a 12-volt supply right there. You can very well use it overall, but I mean, of course, the V90 would be the loading king in comparison to that one here. And to have you presented also how it looks folded. I'll electrically release it here once more, like this. Okay, now we're stuck somehow. There we go. So, and here it is, and yeah, that's pretty long then in here. But again, of course, a sedan is never the most versatile version. So, let's go with the driving part. I said earlier, we have the D5, the big diesel, big in horsepower region, but of course not in displacement and not in cylinders, because we all have the 2-liter and 4 cylinders. So this one here, acceleration-wise, to 100, It's not too far away from the T6, the most powerful petrol engine, which is at about 5.9 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And this one here is 6.9. So 1 second slower to 100 than the biggest petrol. And that, of course, means we have plenty of power here. So a normal overtaking process, for example, if you go from 80 kilometers to 100 with a kick down, I can show you that as soon as we can do that. So, blind spot monitor, by the way, with this red sign. So now 80 to 100. Plop. And 120. So you saw that went pretty fast as soon as the kick down happened. But for the kick down, or until the kick down, the car did take some time. You can change that, however, a little bit when you go to the driving mode selector and go for dynamic. And when you're in the dynamic mode, the car does not need so much time to shift downward, and then push the throttle, you get a more immediate response. Also, I can use the shifting pedals to just manually shift down or third gear. Forced diesel is also not the worst sound when we push it a little bit. Why not? We also have the air suspension mounted in here, which is a little bit of a pity because I would love to test the R-Design suspension, but they didn't have a test vehicle for that yet. The reason for that is the normal R-Design pack also then includes the R-Design suspension, which is the normal suspension, put a little bit lower. And the air suspension, as soon as you have that one, you have the very same air suspension as if you had no R-Design at all. But the reason for that air suspension in this vehicle is that the manufacturers tend to put every spec that is available into a test vehicle to show off the very, very best of the car. And we always argue, come on, why not a mid-trim level to have a more customer realistic car? Really try to force the issue, and most of the time it's really sad that it's not possible. In general, you have good comfort also in the city. When you have the slower rides, you have a good seating position. The Volvo seat forms are usually very good as for the comfort, and a lot of other customer experience also told us that. The visibility is somewhat limited in this sedan. The rear window is not too big, and also the doors are thick and the windows are pretty slim also at the sides, so there are definitely cars which have a better overview. Also, when looking to the front, also from the seating position wise, without the camera systems you do not have the best clue of where the car is actually ending. But luckily, we have the good camera system that is really helping a lot when you're getting around some narrow parking lots, so I'm really glad to have them here. So introduced with the S90 or the V90, we also not only have the adaptive cruise control, but also the pilot assist. And the pilot assist works up to a speed of 130 kilometers now and takes over this semi-autonomous function. It can be really autonomous in pure traffic, for example, so that works. But of course, it's not meant to be that the car is totally driving on its own fully yet. But of course, it's really helpful when you're stuck in traffic and just rolling and don't want to, do anything by that. You can also adjust this distance at the steering wheel, for example, the distance with which shall be kept. So let's see, maybe we also approach a red traffic light, and then hopefully the car, let's see if it's already active. I'm not sure it should be. Just here for show-off purposes, you shouldn't do that. So the system is not meant to do that yet. I'm not sure if it's active yet. So it shows me a Volvo steering wheel. It does. Well, now it's ready anyway, but no car in front of me. Too bad. So sometimes, I mean, I'm lucky to have no traffic then not to be able to test those stuff. But I've had it once already in the XC90 where it was limited to a lower speed. And for traffic, it worked pretty well that you can just, roll in traffic, and also the steering work is being done in traffic. And the same thing we have experienced also with BMW or Mercedes, that to a speed of 30, for example, it works totally autonomously also in the traffic. And I think it's one of the examples where it's really good to have that one. So with the air suspension, of course, everything is rather set on comfort. And that means you don't have a too agile handling in general. But you can then again switch around a little bit with the driving modes, for example. You also have the eco driving mode for coasting or sailing function. And yes, I do say sailing, even if someone said, that's not called sailing, but there are actually manufacturers even who call it sailing if you just let the car roll. Even Mercedes uses a small sailing boat symbol when the sailing function is active. And it means just that there's no throttle input, the car just rolls, but also unclutches, that it can really freely roll as it would be in neutral. But the difference is in neutral gear, it would just still run on the, on the neutral running order, so on the neutral RPM, and still consume more fuel. So with the eco mode, the car rolls better, and also it's very silent in here. When you're just having it at lower RPMs, you can roll, relax, set, for example, the adaptive cruise control. Maybe I can just go behind this car here. You can also check again in my left mirror now, when some people think they can drive faster as it is loud, as it's happening quite often in Germany. There's a red symbol in the side mirror then. Now already with the ACC, by the way, you see here the lane is being kept actively with the steering wheel. See, counter steering a little bit again. Again, the system after a while says take your hands on steering wheel again, because regulations are not that far. Here I'm not braking at all at the moment. So the car is doing that. Now the warning, Thomas, what the hell are you doing? Now also the car is accelerating on its own again. I'm not doing anything at the moment. So it works pretty well, and from the technology wise, they would be able to go through with it all the way. It's actually not a problem. But again, regulations have to be in place for that. And of course, you are still responsible yet. But Volvo is one of the first manufacturers that said, if we're at the point where fully autonomous driving is possible, we also take the responsibility for accidents. And as soon as they really do that, I don't see anyone buying another autonomous vehicle if the other manufacturers do not say that. So that is basically coming, for sure. Actually pretty relaxing. I mean, it's meant to have the hands on the steering wheel because you're still responsible, and at the same time you can relax more still if you know that the vehicle is doing something. Sound insulation wise also, I don't have to raise my voice at all. It's pretty silent in here. So a very relaxing ride. You also don't feel too much difference that the air suspension is just in the rear, because the front suspension is also very soft and comfortable, so that's not too much of a difference. I really like it just to slightly accelerate with the car, because everything goes pretty smooth and silent. And you also do not feel so much that it is a diesel. So with some vehicles, oh, that's a really old diesel. You feel it, you hear it, and feel. Here, if you wouldn't know at all, and also maybe if you leave the start up, oh, it's a nice SL vintage car, then you wouldn't really feel a difference immediately. If it's really a diesel or a petrol engine. Oh, great. People throwing off their plastic bags from the window. Well done. That also happens. So, to put it to 100 again, and the pilot assist again. It's working when the steering wheel is green, and now this now is working up to a speed of 130, and we're driving 100 at the moment. So then also the steering system here works. Just to show you when I take the hands off. When I'm doing some lane changes, by the way, you see that, or maybe also feel that a little bit with me, changing back again. Car is really soft in the suspension, and that means when you're doing a fast lane change, you also feel the car is tilting. So if you want more agility, you can also go to the dynamic mode with this car here, basically. Let's see if this is a big difference when doing some lane change. Yeah, it's actually really stiffer. People behind me really think probably is this guy totally crazy. But you know, of course, Autogefuehl, safety first. And this already helps if you put it into the dynamic mode and it's not tilting that much and giving you enough confidence, definitely. So to me, you know, I more prefer comfort in general, but for more dynamic driving, it's good to have the different driving modes. And sometimes, actually, the differences are not that big between the different driving modes. But here it makes this a really notable difference. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a real sports car. That's for sure. But it's good to have the possibility to change, and then maybe you can think about if you want to spend the money really. You know, this can probably make up for the R-design suspension we do not have in here, because you have the possibility to change it, and it was really a big difference between them. Normal mode where the car was tilting a lot, and then the dynamic mode where I get a little bit more response. But in general, this is still about a comfortable ride. Competitor behind us, A6, I think, A6 or A4. No, should be in A6, a little bit wider. So now slowly approaching the countryside. See in dynamic mode once more. The only thing, you know, with the engines is pretty silent when you're not hammering the throttle, but as soon as you're in sport mode, you're going 3,000 RPMs and so then you do hear them. But in general, as I said, a refined diesel they're using there. I'm not the biggest diesel fan, that's for sure. And the question is also, what about the general future of the diesel engine? Because it will get more and more expensive to get them right to the clean regulations. So we will see more CNG cars popping up, more electric vehicles, also more petrol engines, which will soon be also integrated with the particle filter. So, and diesel registrations are already starting to diminish a little bit. You already feel the differences. But yet again, there's no true alternative yet if someone is really riding like 40,000 kilometers a year. Then the diesel is still a way to go, and we have to see what evolves there then in this respect. Probably only CNG could be a solution there, or fuel cell if you have the fuel station and you want to spend the money for the fuel cell vehicle, that's for sure. So let's see about the pilot assist. Can I also activate it in standstill? No, it's actually not working. Ah, there it is now. I still have to accelerate myself then, but now it's working. Let's see, let's set it to 60. Whoa. See, sometimes you have to take responsibility to yourself. It's not always working perfectly, but we're getting there. And I think it's already good to have such a system that sometimes you're in traffic, you can just relax a little bit. Or maybe think about the traffic where you're stuck really a long time and then get something to drink, to eat, maybe while you're rolling with 20 or something. That is a good solution then. Yeah, we had that recently. So I know. So in the countryside, you're also pretty relaxing. Hey, I want to set the cruise control lower again. I wonder that I can't press the minus button at the steering wheel and then it's just the current speed is set. I have to really press minus again, they get the lower speed then. It's a little bit unpractical. So now I'm at 50. The steering wheel is a little bit different than in the normal version. But it doesn't make too much of a difference. The steering itself is pretty light, especially in the normal driving mode. So I then go, oh wait, I am in dynamic mode already, so that's a little bit astonishing. So the steering could be a little bit more progressive and could feel a little bit natural. It feels arcade-like, very soft. So I think that could be improved to give you a little bit sportier feeling. But in general, it is still a lot of fun to drive the vehicle. It doesn't feel too big when driving, although it is already a big sedan. Just when you're searching for a parking spot, then you feel the width and the length of the car. Other than that, then again, this is the advantage, due to the light steering, the car doesn't feel too big then anymore. But here again, if you're in normal driving mode, sometimes it feels like, you can just see it here, like with what, 2 fingers, turn it all the way around. That is handy again in city situations, but if you think about an agile driving part, you might miss that. I mean, there are certain differences between the other premium manufacturers and Volvo, and I hope I could clear some of those. But you can definitely say it's not that anyone would be lagging totally behind the others. Every of those premium manufacturers have something special, something unique, and something which is maybe not that good if compared to the others. But this one you can clearly have as a true competitor also to the other premium vehicles. With a different screen concept. General definitely set on a comfortable run, so I would, as Audi and BMW rather go in that sporty direction. I would, driving-wise, from the driving feeling, rather compare it to a Mercedes E-Class. Although I think the E-Class is, when you have also the air suspension equipped, is in general the most comfortable vehicle in that upper mid-size segment. Also, the E-Class has the air suspension at the front axle too, whereas here we just have it at the rear axle. So it does make a little difference, but still at a very high level. And cost-wise, I mean, they're all so expensive anyway. I've told you earlier, over 80,000 bucks for this car. Whew, that is really something. You feel the serenity and the elegance of the car also while driving. And yet again, you have to pay a lot of money for it, and you have to search for a good offer or maybe a clever leasing deal, because just giving 83,000 euros on the table, that is really something, and I would think twice before doing that, for sure. I think to sum it up in the driving part, again, setting on comfort, elegant, sovereign ride, up to the competitors, that's for sure. Something really to enjoy. And now to our conclusion for today, Volvo S90 R design. Overall, for sure a lovely vehicle, especially design-wise. I love Scandinavian design, and I think a lot of you share that too. Aggressive but yet still elegant design, especially in the front, so most do agree to that. Also the side profile, well, rather conservative but still appealing. The rear you have to get used to, that is, more maybe aligned with the rest of the design, with the estate, with the V90. But overall, I think a great design piece. Also from the interior styling, I like it very much. How to control everything electronic-wise, infotainment system, I think that is a little bit easier in other vehicles. You have to learn a lot of the functions there that you really get along. It's not the most intuitive systems, especially also with the temperature control. Comfort-wise, they're really on top of the game. But that's also always been the case with Volvo. They just have to think about their animal skin policy, which they are actually doing. Thomas Ingenlath, the main designer of Volvo, chief designer, he said we have to think about a car interior beyond leather. That's what he said, and therefore also in the new XC60 SUV, which we will present you soon, you will, for example, have 2 new very nice variants with fabric and leatherette, for example. We won't be able to show you that on the driving event, I think, because the vehicles will be spec'd to the max again. But we will show you some pictures, at least, of that. So the future is always also coming for Volvo in that case. Other than that, autonomous driving, for example, is already really evolved, and Volvo is going all the way with there. And also safety equipment. I like it that they include a lot of safety features from standard equipment. Other manufacturers should do it as well. then optionally you can get almost everything you can think of. So Volvo is also taking a big part in this overall autonomous driving or assistance systems evolving process. And of course, I want to hear your experience. Maybe if you already own such a vehicle, if you plan on owning this one here, maybe also with the R design. And I will see you at the next Autogefuehl episode with me, with AJ, with Brian, with Holger Master, or then of course with all our other team members in the background. And I hope you've maybe also seen our team episode or from our team meeting. It was also pretty interesting to watch, to join us there then as well. Thanks and bye.